Augustin Barruel was one of the first famous conspiracy theorists in history. He published a book in 1797 about a conspiracy that led to the French Revolution. After the work was published, he received a letter from a man named Jean-Baptiste Simonini, who claimed that the Jewish people were also part of the conspiracy. This letter has continued to fuel anti-Semitic conspiracy theories over 200 years later. Augustin, who happened to be a Jesuit priest, believed radical philosophers involved with the famous Voltaire stirred up society on purpose. He also believed the Freemasons had something to do with the revolution, and that the Illuminati did too. History tells us the real group called the Illuminati was founded in 1776 in Bavaria. Shortly after, a conspiracy theory emerged that alleged the Illuminati were trying to overthrow the rulers of Europe and transform society. Then came the Simonini letter in 1806. He believed that the Jewish people were behind the Freemasons and the Illuminati, which was enough to convince Augustin. The Vatican is supposedly in possession of the original Simonini letter. The resurrection is a sculpture at the Vatican that might be the creepiest thing you've never seen. Some have called it the demonic idol in the Vatican simply because it looks like something that belongs in the underworld. The sculpture depicts the resurrection of Jesus and is the current backdrop behind the stage of the audience hall of Paul VI. The sculpture looks like a demonic representation of Satan as a serpent. This is where the Pope holds his weekly audience whenever he can't make an appearance outside at St. Peter's Square due to weather. The building was inaugurated in 1971, and the resurrection was installed in 1977 by sculptor Pericle Fazzini. It's supposed to be a symbol of the resurrection, something awe-inspiring to make people think about the second coming of Christ. At the center is the image of Christ rising through a chaos of what appear to be twisted black souls. But to many, it looks like a demonic serpent rising up from the depths of hell. Some have speculated the sculpture secretly represents the birth of the Antichrist, which many believe will appear at the end of days in the Vatican itself. Hiding somewhere in the 17 million pages of documents stashed in the Vatican secret archive is supposedly proof of extraterrestrial life. Cardinal Conrado Balducci of the Vatican once stated that meetings with aliens should not be seen as demonic, that instead they deserve to be carefully studied. He also went on to say that it's reasonable to believe in alien life, especially since there is so much evidence in support of them. He even referred to a paragraph in the New Testament in which St. Paul refers to Jesus Christ as King of the universe, not merely King of the world. Cardinal Conrado Balducci isn't the only priest who's made a public statement about the acceptance of alien life. It was almost as if he was trying to preemptively prepare people for a potential meeting with extraterrestrials. Some say the proof is hiding in the vault of the secret archive, and that the Church will only reveal it if absolutely necessary. The Vatican Secret Archive has roughly 53 miles, 85 kilometers of shelving within it. These shelves are filled with treasures and ancient texts that very few have ever had the privilege of seeing. There are supposedly 35,000 volumes hidden here, an estimated 12 centuries worth of documents. The documents and treasures are locked up in a part of the Vatican, built like a fortress, and even though the Vatican has tried to remove the mystery around their archive by changing the name from Secret Archive to Apostolic Archive, the mystery is still very much alive. The only thing the Vatican has ever truly revealed are some interesting tidbits from history. For example, we know about certain documents pertaining to the death of Mary, Queen of Scots. She was executed on February 8, 1587, after reaching out to the Pope, who remained silent. The documents for the excommunication of Martin Luther were also released, showing the truth behind the German man who sparked Protestantism. Prior to the Knights Templar being burned to death at the stake, Pope Clement V secretly absolved the group of any wrongdoing in 1308. He then stashed the documents in the secret archive, and they were only made public in 2007. What you might not expect the Vatican to be hoarding are ancient mummies from across the world. And yet, the Vatican museums hold thousands of prehistoric remains, some dating back over 2 million years. They have collected these ancient bodies from across the globe, including mummies from as far away as Peru. Not too long ago, the president of the Governorate of Vatican City State signed an agreement with the Minister of Foreign Affairs from Peru to hand back 3 Peruvian mummies taken by the Vatican in 1925. The remains were discovered at an altitude of over 8,000 feet. They were likely victims of sacrifice, possibly part of the Inca Empire. Mysteriously, they have been sending many mummies back to their countries of origin lately, but the true scope of treasure hoarded by the Vatican in their secret archive is anybody's guess. A newly published set of documents from the Vatican's archives has revealed a bizarre medieval tale. The story involves a dead bishop's treasure, a pirate, and a pope. Charles Donahue Jr. from Harvard University said it's such a dramatic story that Hollywood could turn it into a movie, except nobody knows about it. The medieval story begins in 1357 AD, when the ship known as the São Vicente set sail from Lisbon with its cargo filled with treasure. It was loaded with gold, silver, and all manner of artifacts that used to belong to Thibaut de Castellon, the Bishop of Lisboa that had recently passed away. The bishop abused his position in such a way that he became filthy rich. When he died, the treasure was taken to Avignon in France to be handed over to Pope Innocent VI. However, the treasure would never arrive at its destination. The ship was attacked by a pair of pirate vessels while sailing off the coast of Spain. One of the pirates was Antonio Botafoc, and his last name loosely translates to Fire Blast. He and his crew were captured, while the second ship vanished with the majority of the treasure. Yet instead of being hanged as the law called for, the pirates managed to bribe their way out of trouble by paying off the Vatican's finance board. The little treasure that was recovered after the pirate attack was handed to the Pope, who used the gold and jewels as expensive gifts to various royals throughout Europe. 3 Portuguese shepherds under the age of 10 were visited by the Virgin Mary. They would see her at least 5 more times until October of that same year. The Virgin Mary supposedly appeared to these 3 young children and bestowed them with a series of apocalyptic prophecies. These prophecies are now known as the 3 Secrets of Fatima. The Vatican took the prophecies very seriously. 2 of the secrets were revealed in 1941, the first of which was a vision of hell. The Virgin Mary showed the children a great sea of fire roaring under the earth. There were demons, souls, burning embers, burnished bronze, and great clouds of smoke. It was supposed to be a vision of the great abyss awaiting all those who have denounced the name of God. The second secret was a little more down to earth. The shepherds saw that World War I would end soon. However, they were given a glimpse of a future in which men continued to offend God. This prophecy ended with a prediction for a second world war. The third secret was kept hidden inside the Vatican until May 13, 2000. 83 years after the supposed apparition, the last secret was revealed. It has been interpreted differently by various popes and religious scholars, but the vision basically revealed that sometime in the near future the pope, bishops, and priests would be massacred by soldiers. Some believe this is a foretold deluge of blood that will come before the second coming of Christ and the rapture. Inside the Vatican is the Apostolic Library, also known as the Vatican Archives. This archive supposedly contains over 70,000 books and manuscripts that will never be released to the general public. The Apostolic Library is a collection of texts given to the popes throughout the years from wealthy families, donated by cities, or acquired from various libraries. It's located within the Vatican Palace and is the direct heir of the original library of the Roman popes. It was made separate from the secret archive in the 17th century by Pope Paul V. In the 1980s, researchers combing through the massive catalogue of texts discovered some fascinating manuscripts. They were hailed as hidden treasures, tucked away for centuries with nobody knowing they were there. Researchers discovered a prayer book from 1345, printed in Germany. This book was particularly fascinating because it was illustrated with colorful drawings of dragons, gargoyles, and other Gothic beasts. There was another collection of texts found from 1435 depicting the ritual slaughter of animals, which most people likely didn't know was still practiced by Christians in the 15th century. Researchers came across plenty of other ancient texts, including a Mishnah Torah printed in the 15th century and a hymn book from Naples printed in 1469. The hymn book is supposedly so small it fits in the palm of your hand. Researchers are only allowed in after signing massive lists of rules and agreeing to certain unknown particulars. The room of Constantine at the Vatican is covered in scenes of soldiers, angelic cherubs, majestic popes, and even a dragon. Most of the figures were designed by master painter Raphael and completed by his students. But in 2015, during the room's renovation, Vatican art historians realized some of the figures in the room were painted by Raphael himself, not his students as previously believed. Specifically, two female figures located at the fresco's edges, a pair of women who represent justice and friendship, were painted by Raphael himself. The art historians figured this out because the two women were of a higher quality than all the art surrounding them. He even painted them using oil instead of water-based pigments like the figures in the rest of the room. However, it's still a total mystery what the significance of these women were 500 years ago, and why he only drew these two females is up for speculation.